24/7 Laredo Talk Show is an independent and original video news channel dedicated to local topics relating to everyday issues that affect Laredo, Webb County, and surrounding areas. Any comments made by guests are not a reflection of the view and opinions of the 24/7 Laredo team. However, we intend to offer you a community program with wide-range views and opinions that reflect our community. No abusive or obscene comments towards any class of people or persons will be tolerated. We believe that an informed community is the way to move Laredo and Webb County forward. If you would like to advertise on the show, you can email us at bordertown2020@gmail.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the 24/7 Laredo Talk Show. Hi, I'm your host, Jesus Chugaza. This is an original, free, and independent news channel. Talk about issues affecting Laredo. And one of the major issues that we have today, of course, is the issue of depression and grief. And we're very fortunate to have a licensed professional counselor, Ms. Alejo, Alejo, who's here to talk to us a little bit about it. She definitely is an expert on those topics. And I'm so glad you were able to make it, Ms. Alejo. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good. I hope your year's coming along just fine, though it's a busy year for you.
Very.
Well, there's so many questions I want to ask you, but I guess I'll start with just generally. We've been at it literally a whole year in this pandemic.
Mhm.
I hear a lot of evidence, anecdotal evidence of people who are very depressed. We've had more than 600 people who have passed away now in Laredo. We have friends, family, acquaintances who have passed away. And a lot of us are kind of depressed and we're dealing with the issue of grief. Obviously, that's your forte. I hate to put everything on a plate for you, but how do you deal with this? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very true what you said. I think a lot of us really do feel like we have gone beyond just the normal sadness. Now we've gone into full depression. Definitely a lot of people are also dealing with grief, right? Because not only are some people sad because of everything that's going on, but they've had to lose someone, unfortunately, right? To this illness. So I definitely have seen a major surge in rates of depression locally here in Laredo. I mean, at the beginning, I would want to say at the beginning, people were calling, looking for services for anxiety, right? People were very anxious. They did not know what was going to happen. So they were looking for help to cope with anxiety. But I want to tell you around June, July, the tone, the mood changed and it became more of depression. And right now, hands down, it is more depression that we're dealing with. In fact, a lot of people did not even know that what they're feeling right now is depression.
Right. You know, originally I thought, Ms. Alejo, that about a year or two ago, we were really talking about post-traumatic disorder because of the cartel violence that affects us here locally, a lot of criminal activity from across the border, maybe spilling over here. People are worried about that.
Right.
But then I also sense a change now, like you said, of depression.
Yes.
And it seems to be prevalent among all ages.
Yes.
And more specifically, if I could ask you, how do you deal with the issue of depression if you're a senior citizen over the age of, let's say, 70? Because it seems that this pandemic seems to affect the older generation more than the younger generation.
Well, let me tell you that I've actually seen, I feel like the COVID doesn't discriminate.
No, it
COVID doesn't discriminate.
All of us, but I'm curious though, because of the issue of grief,
right,
and depression for the older folks, maybe their spouses passed away, their older brother, their sister. There seems to be some correlation, some grief with the older generation.
Right, I agree with you. And I guess maybe we're just talking about different spectrums of
Right.
the same illness. So I think that as you know, everyone's experiencing some form of depression, mild, moderate, severe. I think you're right. I think the elderly population, especially because they're being hit the hardest as far as the health, right? And really, I mean, from the numbers, right, that we've been seeing, it's 60 plus here in Laredo, right, the years of age that are mostly affected right now. I definitely think that, you know, it's one of those, there's like an existential crisis kind of
There is.
situation. Really, a lot of people are considering, you know, what does it mean to die? Like, you know, it's a reality.
How do you handle that? I mean, if you get a client that wants to deal with their depression, and they go make an appointment, is the treatment a combination of counseling with medication, or what exactly is the realm on the issue of depression? How do you being an expert on this topic?
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, so when we start seeing glimpses of depression, a lot of us that, you know, those of us who work with, I mean, all of us have a sense of what depression is, right? But some of us are more finely tuned, right? Because that's what I'm looking for. So in this case of depression, so when I start looking for those keywords, right? And I'm start looking for, you know, Ms. Alejo, I'm not motivated, right? I'm looking for, I'm not motivated. I have no energy, right? I'm looking for those. I'm looking for, you know, so really those are the things of feeling helpless, hopeless. With young people, I hear a lot of, you know, Ms. Alejo, I just don't care. Why bother? When I hear a lot of that, then I immediately know I'm going to pull out an assessment, right?
Yes.
And I try to keep it simple, especially here, doctors, local doctors, I work with many. So I use the, you know, patient health, the PHQ-9, right? So it's the patient health questionnaire, 9 symptoms. And I take inventory, I check their mood. And then if I get anything, it's mild, moderate, severe. If I get anything moderately severe and up, right? So I already know the numbers to look for. I immediately refer to a doctor. So to your question is, do I treat? I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm not a medical doctor. None of us are. Only medical doctors can prescribe medication.
Right.
So what I do is we try to do a combination of talk therapy and medical treatment. But in our culture, people do not like to take medication. They do not. Yes. So
a lot of them self-medicate, you know.
They don't like to take medication, and especially for depression or anxiety. It has, you know, it's hard enough to get somebody into a therapy room in Laredo and in our culture, period. Right. So, you know, if you're going to talk to them about medication, forget it. You'll lose them. They won't come back. So we have to kind of slowly, let's just focus more on listening to them, maybe recognizing their illness, right? The fact that there is an illness. And then hopefully we get them to buy into going to a medical doctor and talking to them. And, you know, a lot of times I have to let them know on how, depending on how severe it is, you know, either they need to walk or they need to run right to their nearest. Right.
Well, we're going to do at this point, Ms. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back and basically ask you now questions about if I have a family member who seems to exhibit the symptoms, what do you recommend?
Okay.
So we'll be out in a few minutes. We'll be right back.
There's a place, a school, an institution where a professor resides. Listen to words of Professor Buitron. Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo, Buitron Academy, 956-401-4868, savat.biz.
Welcome back to the show. We have Ms. Myrthala Alejo, who's here to talk to us about depression and grief. It's a topic that it's one of those topics that you might not want to talk about too much, but it's a topic that affects all of us in our families, our friends, even at work. And I did want to ask you, Ms. Alejo, on the issue of young people. If you're a mother or father and you see your son or daughter exhibiting some odd signs, such as not wanting to wake up or not showing any energy or not being themselves for a certain period of time. I'm not talking about just 1 week or 2 weeks. I'm talking about, especially with the pandemic. And they're probably tired of being home even. How do you navigate that for the parents? What do you recommend?
The one thing that I do that, you know, is very much appreciated by parents is I educate them. I educate them on the condition. And then, you know, I try to pull in the parent with the child. I just wanted to tell you that the children, I didn't think, you know, I know that we thought, okay, people are being affected of all walks of life, all ages. But I can honestly tell you that in my practice and even around me, one thing is surprises that we've noticed is young people have been greatly impacted by the COVID, because their lives have completely changed. So a lot of parents, like, they noticed, and this is what they noticed is, that's why I tell them I'm trying to bring in the parent with the child. I educate the parent and the child on the condition. And then, you know, hopefully we work together, right, to get the child to attend school, right, or to complete tasks. Like if they're going to college, a lot of people want to drop out. Same thing like in high school, kids don't want to log in. So we're seeing this, right, that the kids are expressing, I'm not motivated. I don't see a purpose. Why bother? Hygiene has gone out the window. I mean, if parents are noticing, right? So, I mean, right. And we have all these things, all these goals that we're setting for school, when a child is only thinking, you know what, like, I'm not motivated anymore. I don't see my friends. I don't feel connected. I feel very alone.
Right. And so what do you recommend for a lot of these parents? What should they do? Do they talk to their kids, or do they go see you, or do
They come see me. I do recommend, you know, even I'm doing a lot of the telehealth. I've been doing it since day one. So I recommend to parents, you know, we need the talk therapy next, right? Depending on where they are in the spectrum, we should take them to a medical doctor. And
you do have a spectrum. Professionally, there is a spectrum.
Yes, there is.
You're able to identify
right.
specific symptoms or specific mannerisms to be able to know whether or not they're medical.
Right. I think it's always best, especially with us, again, for us to take an inventory, to take an assessment, to get a number. Right. Because, for example, if I know moderate is number 15, that's how I can show the parent results. You know what, your daughter started off at 15, moderately severe, depressed. Let's work it down to a 9. And like, so now a parent can really see the progress of therapy, right? It's not just chit chatting every week. No, like, we're actually working on bringing down the symptoms, and parents are able to notice it. So I'm not just, you know, a friend that they're talking to, right? Right. And they're more likely to open up to me, right, than they will. Well,
they're going to open up to you, definitely. They need help, and they don't know where to get it.
Right.
And what I want to do, I think it's we're going to have to take a short break, and we're going to continue at the other topic, which is very important, the issue of grief, which goes hand in hand with the issue of depression. We'll be right back with Ms. Alejo to talk about that topic. This is one of those shows, Ms. Alejo, that I never do 3 parts because I like to, I may lose the concentration of the people who are watching. But this is one of those topics that you can talk for a whole hour and people are going to listen because it affects all of us. And that's the issue grief. We've had over 600 people who have passed away. You see a lot of young people, like you mentioned, how probably Laredo are the number one clients in terms of the issue of depression. And then when you talk about grief, I think that's an issue that's major for a lot of the older folk. And like I said, there's over 600 people have passed away, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, workers, people we never thought would pass away so young. But then we're dealing with the issue of grief. How do we deal with it? Ms. Alejo, what do you tell people who are going through a grieving process?
I feel like grief is like the elephant in the room. It's like we have to name it. You know, it's kind of like we know we've lost somebody. Like I know young people are grieving the lives, even, you know, people my age, like everybody's grieving something, whether it's the life we once had, right? But let's say the grief of life, right? Like we have actually physically lost somebody, right? To this illness or to another illness, right? Because there's other illnesses that are happening at the same time.
Yes.
I think it's recognizing of, you know, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to cry. And it's not, I think what a lot of people, the grief is even bigger than before, is that they feel like they're grieving alone. You see, that's a big thing, that before they felt like, you know, I can be there for you because physically I'm there, right, to support you. Right now, it's like they're telling us, don't go out, don't go visit, you know, there's a limit on how many people can be present, right?
Yes.
In hospitals, people are, you know, by themselves. So I think the key here for grief is being there for someone, because even though we are here virtually, but at least I know a lot of people that are older really do prefer that to come into the office, right?
But
that
to
more.
deal with the issue of grief, I mean, you extend your hand towards a person who's grieving. You listen to what they're saying.
You
just
let them cry.
Vent, let them cry. Is the grieving process, is there a natural period of time that people grieve, or is it very personal for everyone?
Well, so a very famous Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she came up with the 5 stages of grief, right? And there really is no timeline. So some people can go through the stages of grief, you know, I don't know, in a couple of months, and some people like can never get over it. Like,
Right.
In other words, because the stages are not linear. Like, so she starts off with denial and ends with, you know, acceptance. Some people don't ever get to the point of accepting somebody else's passing, right? Because they're not able to fill in the blank of why did it happen? Maybe with this illness, like we know that it happened, right? We understand why. But it's just accepting that, you know, that person's no longer with us, maybe not going to, I think during the holidays, it was very like, it's like any holiday, right? This right now,
it always is, in December is the toughest
right.
month for everyone.
It's always very hard, but now we're alone.
In that month, for whatever reason, naturally, many people die during the winter months. It's just a natural state of a matter. But there is a lot of grief, and I see that during the pandemic. Now, how do young people deal with the issue of grief? Are they similar in nature as the older folk?
Yes. Well, I think the younger they are, actually, the children are more resilient because there's a lot of things that they don't understand, right? And what they do understand is just kind of like, okay, it's all more simplistic, you know, although for older people, it's a lot of memories.
Yes.
It's a lot of memories, right? And so with younger children, again, it's fewer memories, right? But it's so that's really right.
So very painful for them.
Right. So for a lot of older people, it's the length of time of everything,
all the memories and experiences. Right. When do you know a parent should go take a child or a young person, or recommend somebody go see a licensed professional counselor?
I think with anyone at any age, I mean, if we see that the person we go back to, remember that grief doesn't always mean crying. Some people, when they grieve, they're very angry, like in depression. They get, very irritable. So I'm going to take somebody, I think I should take somebody to therapy when I already see that this person is either isolating, withdrawing from people. They're very, or maybe again, they're very agitated, at home. At this point, whether it's my grandmother, whether it's my mother, or whether it's my child, I need to get them help because I'm noticing that they're not adapting well every day. They're
Right.
not well. They don't seem, happy with life, happy with themselves. They can't seem to get along with others.
Right.
And so I know something is bothering them and I need to take them somewhere so that they can talk about it, right? This is something that we can't just fix at home.
No, you can't. It takes time. It takes a professional counselor to talk to many of these people. And hopefully you'll be able to process them out of this depression or this grief and go back to normal life. I want to thank you, Ms. Alejo, for your time.
Thank you.
It's been very interesting. I know you can take more of your time, but I think this is enough for the public to see. And if you are going through a depression that you can't handle it yourself, where can they contact you if they want to go see you?
Right. They can call me. My work phone is 956-608-9744, or they can go to my website, which is alejopsychotherapy.com.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully in better topics and better situations. This pandemic has been hard for all of us. Thank you
Right.
again. And on behalf of 24/7 Laredo Talk Show, I want to thank the viewers for watching. Until next time, stay safe, everybody. Thank you.